Hey, can you hear me okay?
And
Hey, right on.
going
Good, man. How are you?
doing good.
Right on. Dude, I love your Facebook page, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I love it, dude. I love what you're doing out there. I
Thank
love
you.
I love all the videos and I I try to jump on as many lives as I can, man, and it's great.
I appreciate that. That's what I'm trying to do. So, I mean, it's been, I don't know, 6, 7 years of doing it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Dude. Well, it's taken off, man. I love answering your I mean, really good questions you have too about what it is and what life is and leadership and entrepreneurship stuff like that, dude. I love it.
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I try to like put some thought into it, like some questions, because I know like a lot of people ask questions, and for
Yeah,
me, I have found if I do questions that actually have substance to it,
yeah,
people get a lot from it.
yeah.
But if it's just like a question, there's not a lot of substance to it. Like people, it's just a waste of space in there. So
Yeah, no, yeah, for real, man. Well, that's so awesome. So tell me exactly, because I've been following you for a little bit, but tell me like what you do in like your words and like what you're trying to do.
yeah, so I'm a coach and consultant.
Yeah.
Basically, and it's hard because I get asked that, what is it that I do? And it's hard because it's like, well, I do multiple things. Like there's four, I broke it down into four different businesses
Mm-hmm.
over this quarantine. I broke it
Yeah.
into fitness,
Yeah.
nutrition, and then coaching and consulting, and
Yeah.
then acting and modeling. So,
Okay.
you know, in a nutshell, I mean, that's all it is. But like the thing that I'm most passionate about and what it all leads back to is always coaching and consulting. So
Okay.
helping just people make an impact on their lives. And consulting really goes into helping people with business. I love talking
Yeah.
about business. I love the strategy part of like helping people like say like this is what I want to do. How do we make this into a business? I love that
Yeah.
part.
Oh
So
man, yeah, I bet. Have you had any like clients that I mean, you don't have to name drop or anything, but have you had any clients that you've like helped coach and like make a pretty successful gig out of it?
yeah, so I just had like at the beginning of this quarantine, it was really really fun because I had a client come in and say, I want to quit my job eventually, and I want to do this, and what it came down to is he wanted to be a financial coach,
Okay.
not a consultant, not an advisor, like a
Yeah.
coach. And I
Okay.
said, what's the difference? And he broke that down to me, and I said, let's just do it. Let's make a coaching program out of this, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And like he quit his job and he has just continued to grow and build it. Obviously it's in the beginning phases, but we did it during quarantine,
Yeah,
which
that's
was really, really cool. So
yeah. No kidding. Well, I think it's always a good time. I think these kind of like downtimes, like quarantine or like, economic downtimes or something like that are great times to start a
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think
Mhm.
there's I think it's almost better, right? I've talked to a few, people when doing this podcast and I'm like, "Man, like when did you start?" And it's like, "Oh 08, oh 09." You know what I mean? Or some of these big times and I'm like, "Whoa, how did you make that work?" And it's like what you're talking about, like the
Yeah.
strategy and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really good time to be in this reflective point.
Yeah.
So, it allows you to have that space to clear and say like, okay, well, this is, I can't worry about my work right now. Like, so what else do I do? And
Yeah.
you could kind of get in this creative process, which what I find with most people is that they don't give themselves enough time to be in that creative process enough in their life.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important, especially in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
The more creative you can get, you can still find a niche, but do it in a creative way. Because I don't know any financial coaches out there. Everyone categorizes themselves into this one box
Yeah.
of I'm a financial advisor, I'm a
Right.
financial, and so when you're doing that, what happens is now you're no different from anyone else. But when someone hears financial coach, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Why am I different?
Yeah.
And that was the fun spin. We were able to go in this creative space and say this is what the possibilities are, and let's create it. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
love it. Yeah, no, that's great, man. And I love how you bring your insights to the game as well. Like you were on this I saw one of your posts, and you'll have to forgive me or at least refresh my
Right.
memory. But the one thing that like you had a common thing that came up whenever you talked to like men. It was
Hmm.
like that one thing. And I listened to that and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So tell me like what that was and like what you learned and stuff, man.
Yeah, so the one thing that is very common around men is that they have an insecurity, but they hide it. They wear masks, and that can come out in a lot of different ways. And
Yeah.
so some people will be like, "I'm not insecure. I'm confident." Like, but
Right.
like in that, I'm like, no, that's why what makes you so insecure is like you can't even admit like that you have those insecurities, that you're
Mm,
inhuman all of a sudden, like that you don't
yeah.
have emotional thoughts,
Yeah.
like it's so common.
Yeah.
And there's so many like different like masks or things that we hide. Like there's a comedic one, there's a shy one, there's
Oh wow.
a kind of an ego one, like jock one, bully
Yeah.
one. Like we can put them all on,
Right.
and it's so common with men that every time like I talk to another man,
Yeah.
all of a sudden he finds himself being like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, man. Well, that's
So
nuts. How do you break out of those shells, man?
it's a good question. A lot of it is most men don't know how to identify it because the only thing that they know is what they've been taught through generations to generations. And
Yeah.
what has really happened, like with men, is society has played the telephone game on what a man is.
Yeah.
It a lot of it is, there's environmental changes that are happening in society, and this is what I've really shared with a lot of the men that I coach, and even women, so that they start to understand men a little bit more in today's society, is that as we have gone through like the generations of time, ever since the 60s,
Yeah.
the role of the man has continued to get miscued and lost in this,
Yeah.
because now if you hear the voices of the women are, we can do what you men do, and we could probably do it better than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like almost becoming true.
Yeah.
the
Well, yeah.
majority the majority of women today are the breadwinners of the home,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it never used to be like that.
Right.
But like the part
Interesting.
of the man's identity is to protect and provide,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
And that's
so
yeah, and that's kind of like all like really, I mean, I like what you said there. It's kind of like flipped almost. It's gotten really skewed almost. You know what I mean? So that makes sense that a lot of dudes are kind of like, what would you call it? Like identity, like losing their identity almost, right? That's
yeah,
like what the old man used to mean, right?
yeah. So we're trying to mimic what the old man was, the rough and tough.
Mm, yeah,
Not saying that that was like a perfect model either, because there's a lot of like undeveloped emotional intelligence that came along with that too.
yeah,
But they knew their role, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So looking at society as a whole, there's some interesting things that really just make it really easy for me to just say it's this and this and this. And when I explain
yeah,
it to them, they're like, man, that makes so much sense. Not only is it just the role of it, but it's the energy that goes along with it. So women are
mm,
now becoming more masculine and men are becoming more feminine. So
yeah, yeah,
that is like the trade-off in that.
yeah,
So a lot of the women, they're like, where's the men? Where are the men? Like you can hear
yeah,
it all throughout social media. And
yeah,
then where are the men? And it's like, well, it's because you're starting, the energy that you're putting off is a very masculine one. So
yeah,
it drives men to the feminine one.
yeah, yeah,
So the more you continue to push this women independent and go women power women,
yeah,
and go like this.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I like that. So how do you kind of help with that? How do you kind of help with that kind of shift, right? What is your goal when you're talking to women and when you're talking to men?
It's really to help men find their identity.
Yeah.
Really to help men see, hey, guess what? Like everything you've been taught about what it means to be a man, you're probably far off.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. Yeah, for sure, man.
you're probably so far off. And like the hokey pokey stuff, the hippie
Yeah.
stuff, the emotional stuff that you're like, oh, that's too girly stuff. That's the stuff that you're actually missing, that
Yeah.
actually makes you whole as a man.
Yeah. I totally believe that. I think everybody goes through that, but one of the questions you put out, um, and I responded with empathy, right? Like a lot of people are missing, like especially men, like
Mhm.
they're kind of hiding off in this land where, empathy used to mean, yeah, like you were saying, kind of like feminine, like, women are very empathetic by nature. And so men kind of miss that because now now we have to kind of play the game, right? You said that women are mostly the breadwinners. And so what do men have to do, not necessarily to catch up, but to like maintain. And it's that whole idea of empathy and caring and like what really makes the teams go and societies go.
Yeah. More men need to just know that it's okay to be
Yeah.
insecure, you know?
Right.
Like,
Vulnerable.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, like, it's okay if you have fears. It's okay to say, like, gosh, like, I'm inadequate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that,
Right. Right.
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like,
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, no, and I always say, like, you don't have to be like this he-man of a man to be a man. Like, if you can be
Yeah.
your own individual, shape that however you want. Like, dude, you got a beard. I don't got a beard. Like, I
Yeah.
can't. So does that mean I'm less than a man? Like, but that's what
Right.
we're trying. Like, we've started to equate those kind of little attributes to like
Yeah.
what a manhood is.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like, oh, if I can't do it, like I gotta grow it, and it's just
Yeah.
certain things like that that
Yeah.
really take away from a man's identity, and he gets so lost and confused about
Hmm.
who he is and who he could possibly be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I have beard. I got too much acne, man. I got to cover up my ugliness, dude. No, I'm just kidding you. But I like that. I like that's your kind of motivation for like helping people, man. Where did you come up with that idea?
A lot of my own like coaching, going
Mm,
through, hiring coaches over the last like 6, 7 years,
mm,
and just talking. And it's not even that my message is directed towards men. I'm just a man,
mm.
so it's easier to relate to men
Yeah.
in that,
Hmm.
but and a lot of what's really funny about my coaching is that it always goes back to people wanting help with the relationships. And
Mm,
that always goes back into like, well, let's talk about you and where you're at. um,
hmm.
and let's kind of fix what's going on in here and the stories and what you perceive life is supposed to be like, who you
Yeah.
think that you should be like, and let's really like strip it all down and try to figure that out first.
Mm.
And then we can find like what is creating the problems, you know
Right.
what's
Right.
creating the problems from you having the body that you want, what's creating the problems from you to like connecting with yourself,
Yeah.
connecting your relationships, and then like bringing in and doing the things that fulfill you in life, like
Yeah.
financial. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, man. Do you feel like other than like identity things, do you feel like there's other like common things that people go to coaches for?
I think, people are looking for the answer. And this is like, you
Yeah.
know, I put on this question today is like, what creates a long-term relationship?
Uh,
And someone said, I wish I knew. I wish I could break that code. Um,
oh man.
what is your advice?
Yeah.
And this is probably my principle to life in general,
Mhm.
not just relationships. It's not looking for the way, it's looking for a way for you to create the life that fulfills and brings, like, that gives you purpose and fulfillment
Mhm.
in it.
Mm. Yeah. Because it can be different ways, right? And everybody has a different way, right?
Yeah. And what we have to break out of is believing that there is only one way, and
Mhm.
thinking that we have to like find that one way and we're looking for the secret. Because what I find is most people are scared to just create the thing that they truly want. So they're not very clear. They're afraid to go off because it's so off the path of what society is telling them and who they should be and how it should be done, that
Yeah.
they get so afraid that like they don't allow themselves of this possibility of what's actually possible if they just do it the way that works best for them.
Yeah, I like that, and I like how you said not to find the way but a way, because sometimes it's just about starting, right? Like how many people do you find in your coaching that just if like if they would have just started, they might be a little bit further than where they're at right now, right?
Yeah, that's like the majority of people. I mean, I fall trapped to it. Like we all
Yeah, we all do.
fall trapped to it, and we're like, oh man, this is so much easier. If I would have just started like 5 years ago, this would be easy.
Yeah, right, right.
So
What's
yeah,
what's the antidote to starting? Like what do you know what I mean? What's the antidote to not starting?
so the real key here is actually taking one step back
Okay.
and actually being okay. What is it that you truly want?
Hmm.
People have the hardest time just getting past that point. Like it can
Yeah.
take clients weeks, even on like, dude, like I can't help you because I don't know where we're going. You don't know where you're going. What do you want?
Yeah.
Well, I just want this, like fulfillment. That's a broad word.
Yeah.
We all want
What does
fulfillment.
that mean?
Like I get it. Like, and I tell people all the time, stop trying to tell me feel good words. I don't need
Yeah.
filler words. I don't need like what sounds good. You don't have to be eloquent to do this. And they're like, well, you always do. I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been shooting videos. I've been writing content. I sound eloquent, but
Yeah.
I can promise you when I first started, I was a complete idiot. Like my vocabulary was one. I had read one book all the way
Yeah.
through, maybe two in my whole like lifetime,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
That's
wasn't.
awesome. Yeah, no, that's great though. I think a lot of people miss that, you know. Man, I think that's my nugget from you, Matt, is don't find the way, find a way. Just like go, man. Just find a way to get started and get started and if you're a rough stone, like as you roll down the hill, you're going to get polished up.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It'll all the mistakes and rocks that are hitting you, like they'll make you better.
Yeah. Yeah. So what makes life so amazing and what makes people so amazing is that we forget there's an infinite way and patterns of behavior and ways for us to do this, to
Mm,
live life.
mm,
There's an infinite number of combinations that work,
mhm.
but it's all really based upon you have to identify the things that you want and
Yeah,
what works for you,
yeah,
because you and I have two different personalities.
right.
Where we operate our lives from, like there's tons of like psychology and things, and it's funny because people are like, what do you read, Matt? I was like, I read like books on like psychology and stuff. You guys
Yeah,
read
yeah.
self-development that someone like figured out this cool way to word something, and I'm like, I do like psychology, so there's a real science behind this when I teach it to my clients.
Yeah.
But like we have stages that we develop in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like a layered cake. Some people stop at a certain point of development and they just kind of stay in that circle right there.
Yeah.
So your belief systems and how you operate can go from this level all the way down to the levels that you've developed in. And it can just go up and down like this, depending on when or what you need it for.
Right.
And so then there could be other people that have gone a little bit higher. Not, it doesn't make them better or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
means that they're more developed, maybe in intelligence or in emotional, and they can go up and down. So they can
Yeah.
go meet you where you're at, but it'd be really hard for you to meet them where they are at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um, I don't even remember why I was saying this, but it's really important to understand that, because in there you can start to say, I'm up here at this level,
Mm.
and what works for me, it won't work for you because you can't operate at that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to
Yeah.
be a lot different, and what works and how I got there.
Yeah. Yeah. So people, yeah, I mean, well, that makes sense. I mean, some people got to find where their levels are with them, right?
Mhm.
And finding that is probably hard for some people.
Yeah, it's a lot of letting go of this
That's
idea
tough.
that it has to be that one way.
Yeah.
So like innovation happens when the individuals, like we think that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, like all of these amazing people are so amazing, but all they did was let go, and they were open to this creative process of infinite possibilities.
Oh wow. Yeah, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they are in their level of genius. Now, of course, there's some like intelligence, like Elon Musk, and that, like they understand things that I don't understand, but they
Yeah.
always started at the ground zero of not understanding or knowing something.
Right, right. But back to your point, man, right? They found a way. They just started. They're like, dude, I just gotta go. You know what I mean? And I always like think of it as like a math problem, right? I had a math teacher and accounting teacher who just said, just start the problem. Like it's a massive problem, but if you just start, it'll start to work itself out, and you'll start to
Yes.
figure it out. And that's what a lot of people miss, man. That, just to your point, like a lot of people miss that, just get started, right? And you'll
Mhm.
find the identity and get a coach. You know what I mean? How many coaches did you say you went through?
So I didn't go through necessarily a lot. I'm very picky
Sure.
with coaches because
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
what people don't understand about coaches, like what happens is when you continue to rehire the same one, they actually get to know you.
yeah,
And when they get to know you, it's a lot easier for them to coach you.
yeah, yeah,
So, I continue to keep certain ones where I like pay. And
yeah,
the only ones like I get coaches all the time, like, hey, I want to hire you, or I want you to hire me.
yeah,
And like, I don't even know you.
yeah.
Like,
I don't know who
you
you
have
are.
no, yeah, I have no nothing background. But the ones that I do know, they can instantly hit me up and say, hey, Matt, let's have a conversation. I think I can help you. And they'll instantly have me. So,
Yeah, that's great, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, and it's just because I understand coaching. I understand like a lot of it, and I
yeah.
understand that there are a lot of people who are not ready to coach at the level. I don't actually portray the level that I'm actually at on social media.
Right.
Unless you have a one-on-one conversation like this with me, you don't
Yeah.
truly understand because it gets lost in the messages on Facebook.
Oh yeah, man.
So,
Well, that
but
was my. Yeah, go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, so I only have 4 or 5 that I've actually
That's
hired.
cool though. Well, that's cool though. I think everybody needs a mentor. I think everybody needs a coach. Whether it's for their business, like a business coach, or whether it's my emotional coaches or those types of mentors in your life that different areas. Like for me, I have different coaches or mentors for my academic side, for my business side, for my philosophical side, because I'm really into that kind of stuff. And so yeah, having people for every kind of angle of what kind of person you want to be, right? How do you put that vision with somebody, like, because they want to, you have a goal, right? When you're starting to coach, what's our goal? How do you help them see that goal beyond what you said, like fulfillment? Because that's such a big word. Yeah, I want to be accomplished. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, yeah. So the goal is to just help. The first conversation is like, what do you want? Why do you want it? Like,
Yeah,
it sounds so simple, and it's the same basis of like every like
yeah,
conversation that you probably have with anyone.
right,
Um, but what's really important is for me to take the time and actually diagnose like what they're actually saying, and to like hear between the lines.
oh
So,
yeah,
I was actually just talking to someone. It was like in a dating like sense, but you
yeah.
know, they were like, "This is me," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I already knew that about you." I was like, "How did you know?" And I was like, "Well, it's because like when people speak to me, I hear past their words, and I
Yeah,
start to say, "Oh, this is how this person operates."
right, right.
I can gather and I can
Yeah,
understand like that person, and that's just like where my listening skills have really gotten to
yeah,
where I can help with what I'm good at.
yeah. And how important is listening for you? Because I feel like we say that a lot, right? Just like listen, but we've lost like almost the art of listening.
Yes, and it's hard because I don't know how to train that,
Yeah,
because for me I'm always listening between the words. I'm always listening, and I'm listening to tonalities. I'm listening to how the
right.
vocabulary is coming out, the belief systems, and
Yeah,
my just program my brain to hear the same things. And the thing about people is they we pattern ourselves after people, so you
right,
can pick up patterns in society, and you can just know that this is where this person's at.
right, right.
So that just happens over time,
Yeah,
multiple conversations.
right, right. And and that And that's important, is like when you get to know somebody, you can really get to listen to them. And I think part of listening, like back to, well, and you said it the first time, right? Like diagnosing, I think really good listening is really good questioning.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Figuring out exactly what someone needs.
Hmm. Yeah. And I listen to the clarity that someone
Mm,
speaks in.
yeah.
You know, you can tell when someone is trying too hard,
Yeah.
trying to say something that they don't really know what they're saying.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
can tell it's like, oh, you've kind of read a lot of quotes off of Facebook, Instagram, and mashed them all together. And now you're super confused because when you do that, none of it makes sense.
I love that, man. That's awesome, man.
Especially like, be yourself, be you, but don't do that. You can't do that. You can't say that. I'm like,
Yeah. So wait a minute. Yeah. Wait a minute.
just be you. But here's how you have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's not me.
Yeah. So how do
See,
you so how do you help those guys, how you help your clients, I guess, like find out, um, because we ask them questions and then you kind of get it boiled down. So what's like the action plan that you take people through?
I think the first thing is really important for me is
Yeah.
that they have to be able to relate to me.
Mm,
And for me to get to that point, I've had to be open and vulnerable with myself. So you see a lot of the posts that I post, people are like, dude,
yeah.
I can't believe you're brave enough, which
Yeah.
is so stupid. What do you mean I'm brave? I'm human.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a whole different topic about social media. But like people read that
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and they're like, I can relate to you.
Yeah.
So when I have a conversation, like recently I was on the phone with another man, and with a lot of the guys that I've talked to who are struggling in their relationships and stuff, and I just
Yeah.
simply say, let me guess, this is what you've gone through, this is how you're feeling, this is what you want to do, and this is why you are the way that you are. And they're
Yeah.
like, dude, it's like you read my mind.
Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
and that's really important, just so that they understand that they're not alone, that you're not like this anomaly. And
Yeah.
I think too many times we think that,
Yeah.
or you think like, this is the guy's version, I'm just a dumbass and I just don't want
Yeah.
to. And
Right.
I just say like, dude, yeah, I get it, we're guys, like, we're dumbasses sometimes, like
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
the things
yeah.
we do, like the thought process that, or lack of thought process that we
Yeah.
do, like, that's why, like, we like make the mistakes and say the stupid shit we say, you know?
Yeah, dude, for real. That's so true. I'll tell you what, man. I think the world would change for the better if more men realized they were dumbasses.
Like, that's totally cool. So let's talk
Yeah,
about,
or at least every once in a while, you
yeah,
can do some stupid
no,
stuff.
yeah, and it's just like we don't process things. There's still like this like wild child in us that, like, our curiosity just gets the best of us, and we don't think about it, and we just go and do it, and then we're like,
Yeah,
I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. That was really stupid. Like,
yeah.
you know,
But then, like, being okay with that, you know what I mean? Because you got to be okay with. It's just gonna happen, man. I used to have this screensaver on my computer, and it was just two words. It was expected.
mhm.
And and it's part of my like stoic philosophy, my stoic way of living, is to just anticipate those things, like bad things are going to happen, I'm going to make mistakes, expect it. And when I make a mistake, I've already been there in my mind, so I can be like, hey, look, I made a mistake, I knew that was going to happen, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to move on.
Yep. Yeah. It's just like this ownership. It's like not being insecure.
Oh yeah.
Not, for a lot of men today, we think that we have to, like, we can't make mistakes. We have to be like in
Right.
this perfect line that's straight and narrow and things like that. And like, because we grow up in this way of like, dude, you're so stupid. Like, just as
Yeah.
us guys, like, dude, we're mean. Like, as
Yeah.
boys, we're just mean. We're mean to each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, and like nowadays people are like, dude, you're just like, there's so many bullies and bullying is wrong. It's like, dude, that was just like playground fun. Like, I don't, like, I never saw it as bullying, but I mean, it is bullying,
It is bullying, but
you know?
when we were growing up, like there was no, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, we didn't know that. I mean, and so like we were just mean to each other, but like what we didn't see is the repercussions that it would happen because
Mm,
our friends were the biggest influences on us,
yeah.
and they were shaping us and molding us. And our parents didn't know. Like our parents weren't like my mom. Like so funny because I was like, you know what, I gotta go talk with Tyke and my son. I gotta kind of help walk through his emotions. And my mom said, "You don't need to do that. Why do you need to do that?" I was like, Mom, like it's a whole different way from what you parented. I totally get that. It's just
Yeah.
you probably won't understand it, and that's okay. Let me go do this. Uh,
Yeah.
and she just was like, "You're right," you know. And, it's totally cool. But you know,
Right.
it was like it was such great proof about like how like the 80s and 90s children were being raised, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. Like we
Yeah.
weren't like being coddled like that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And for yeah, well, and to your point too, like, yeah, we grew up in, I mean, some of the stuff that they've had, like even like the medical, like medically and mental health wise, like advancements that we've had, like, dude, I'm, ADHD, but I grew up in a time when like people really didn't know what that was.
Hmm.
They just thought you were like like you were a really ornery kid. So they just like, they just took it to you, man. You know what
Yeah,
I'm that you
yeah.
but you're right.
Yeah, and so like we kind of didn't see that, and we didn't see the repercussions. I mean, it was impossible for us to see the repercussions. We're just dealing with all those repercussions of how we were raised and that
Mhm.
generation. And so like yeah, like inside of us, like we still have that bully mentality of like, if I do this, like what are my bros gonna think? There are
Yeah.
no bros around.
Yeah.
Like how many bros do you actually have? Like not very many, right?
And if you have that many, how many would actually care what you're about to do?
Yeah,
Right?
like they're like, dude, I don't care about that stuff
Yeah.
anymore.
Okay.
Like for reals, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're still there's still a lot of that you have to get over and like
Mm,
acknowledge and recognize, and being like, I'm the only one that cares. I'm the bully now, and to myself, and I think that
yeah.
because I honestly still think of myself as the 18-year-old version of myself a lot. Like I don't act like that, but like it's like weird to be like, yeah, that's weird. I have a kid. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's not so
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so sometimes like we just talk to ourselves like that version in our heads.
Hmm.
It's not real.
It's not it isn't real, man. And that
Yeah.
happens like way more than you think. So like tell me like your journey through all this and like what it's meant to you to go through this process and like help other people.
Man, that's such a good question because um, when I first got introduced to coaching, it was before everyone was a coach, like
Mm,
way before that. So like like some of my coaches like are considered some of the OGs of coaching, you
mm,
know. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
I was 26 years old when I had my first coach, and that it 26, and when I was 26, it doesn't. This seems like it was so long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But like
yeah.
you have to. That's how fast it has progressed, I guess,
Oh wow, yeah,
the
wow,
world of coaching.
yeah,
When I was 26, there were no 26-year-olds hiring other coaches to help them in life.
yeah,
I just didn't like everyone thought I was crazy. No one knew why I would pay tens of thousands of dollars on a coach, um, at the age of 26. So when I first did it, I really wanted to just be a coach. I really wanted to help people. And so I started mimicking my coach. And what I was doing, it was good. It had good intentions, but I didn't understand the things that I was teaching. I didn't really understand it, and it was just kind of filling space with good things that sounded right.
mm,
And people say that you can coach at any age. I truly do believe that. So if anyone's listening to this and you're like young and you're like, I shouldn't coach, Matt said, I'm not telling you not to, but there is a thing that comes with age and it's
yeah,
experience. You know?
right, right. Like
So
maturity and experience. It's real tough for a 26-year-old to talk to a 36-year-old, right? Because you have totally different life experiences. You
yeah,
know, Not saying that you got to wait till you're 50 to go coach.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to.
But
But
yeah,
it's really important to know that like you have to stick to your demographic and where you've come from and what you can coach people on.
yeah,
For a 26 version old year old for me, like I didn't really have anything that I could coach someone that was 20. You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what? Like what am I going to coach you on?
You're
Someone at 21 could have built like a really successful business. Go coach other 21-year-olds how to do that.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but like I was trying to coach people on the divorce and things like that. Like um,
Mm,
I grew up with a family that went through a divorce, and that was all I was basing off of.
yeah.
I went through a divorce. you know,
Yeah, man.
you know,
That's different though, huh?
it's so different.
Yeah.
The things that you discover along that journey, and I would say, that's when I started to accelerate myself as an individual, but even as a coach.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
I could sit down and I could have these like real conversations and saying, listen, I know what it feels like. Number one, to hide behind your insecurities, to put on this mask every day, to show up like everything's great and grand, but yet behind the scenes, behind the screens, your life is falling apart.
Yeah.
And you struggle every single day to wake up just to hold it together. I know
Yeah.
how stressful that is. I know how burdening it is. And I know like the struggles and things that you think every single day of like, when does this get better?
Yeah, no kidding, man. And then and then through that, through your mentorship, I'm sure those guys have just been able to let go, just kind of like we were talking about earlier, right? Like just let go, man. You don't have to keep all this. In fact, I was remembering one time when somebody we were going through that with, I was going through that, and I heard an analogy, of like this, there's a dragon and it's chained, and we think like as men we got to fight the dragon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get all beat up, but then we forgot, like we didn't see that the dragon is actually like chained to the ground and like can't move beyond a certain part, and like just go away, like go around it, you know what I mean? Like you can leave, like
Mm-hmm.
this isn't going to hurt us anymore if I just leave, right? And
Yeah.
it kind of sounds like exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, um, when I can relate to someone like that, that's when my coaching like really became powerful, because like I can
Yeah,
relate and I can teach you like, what did I do? Like, this is what I did.
right.
Like, it wasn't miraculous. It wasn't a secret. Like it's everything that you've heard, but you think that it's too simple to actually cure something that you feel like is such a great problem.
Right, yeah, man. Yeah, you're like, it can't be that easy for me. I know. Mine's way more complicated. You're like, no, man, it's actually not that complicated. And
Yeah.
once you realize it's like that simple,
Yeah.
you can be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
there I go, right?
Yeah. And I don't ever treat it this way, but like at the end of like every, like, it always comes to this point where I say, all the things that you're saying to me, why does it matter anymore?
Yeah,
Everything that happened in your past, why does it matter?
yeah,
I get it, like if it's traumatizing, I get that. I get like the whole like the beliefs that can be created, like we can fix all that.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, tomorrow is going to come,
yeah,
hopefully. And at that point, what are you going to do? What are you going to do right now to make sure that you don't repeat history?
yeah, no kidding.
Because your history has only been based upon who you have been at that point of time.
Mm,
What does that mean? That means today, who you choose to be and how you choose to show up today will determine tomorrow and the
yeah,
next. So there's a pattern of beliefs and behaviors that you are being the person that just isn't working for you to live the life that you want, that makes you truly happy. So
right.
I don't care what happened in your past. You care about it way more, and you're holding on to moments. But what you got to understand is that moments are always fleeting. They are just passing.
Mm-hmm.
You are trying to relive and recreate moments of the past. So
Mm-hmm.
you're living in the past. And then you're trying to see how that past is going to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And you're missing the gap, which is the present moment right now, which is the only thing you can control, which is the only thing that matters right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is, man. People forget that, like they live in the past or they live in the future, and they miss what they need to be doing right now. And a lot of that stuff that has to be done in the future, really depends on what you're doing right now. So I love that, man. I think that's a great message that you bring to the everybody. And like I said, I think that, you could learn a lot from it. So how would somebody go about, like, if they wanted to hire you as a coach, how would they go about doing that?
A lot of it, you go through like finding me on Facebook. I don't see. So this is like what's really hard is people are like, how do I get in contact with you? Like, how do you do you have a website? Do you do this?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I create my business without any of those things.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to do everything word of mouth, or people find me on Facebook, they see my message, they reach out, and then we're in a conversation.
Yeah, that's great. But that's a great business model, man.
Yeah. So that's why any marketer that comes to me, they've never been able to crack my code. I'm like, it's because I don't follow the rules. I never follow the rules of what anyone's doing. We have a huge me and my team have a huge marketing plan that we're engaging in right now that is unheard of. That's totally different from what anyone would tell you to do. Working. It's working like beautifully. We launched a company, and like in the first week within the first few days we broke our first $1,000 in our company.
Wow.
Yeah. So it like everyone was blown away, and was like kind of like, it wasn't a huge price point or anything.
Yeah.
So to hit 1,000 in just a few days was actually a huge achievement.
Yeah.
Because we weren't asking for $1,000 per sale, less than 100.
Yeah. Well, that's great. No, man. I think that's what people kind of like, also like when they're starting businesses, or they're trying to like go from point A to point B in life. They're thinking like, I have to make these big jumps. I have to make these big jumps. And so like when you told me that, like I was excited, because like, dude, $1,000 is $1,000, and selling is like selling, man. That's great. Like if if you put a product out, or you put an idea out, and the market can bear it, and they'll come. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great. And people miss that. They're like, no, I got to hit X amount of revenue, or I got to get from my, broken self to my healed self tomorrow. Like, no, man, you can't do that. And the little steps are great. Like, I find joy in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. What's really cool is I drew out this whole plan for them about how we're doing this, and in like a matter of months, we'll be making $15,000 a month, which is huge for any kind of fitness business in general.
Yeah.
That's huge. So
right.
I'm paying out huge commissions to my team, and they love it. And I'm like, I'm totally fine with it too. Like, we're making good money doing this.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, it's awesome. And I put it on a residual income for them. And it's just,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like the business model. And so I understood how to build a culture that would make people excited to want to link arms, to want to be a part of something, and why they're going to benefit from being a part of it. And that's really important. Like, that I've learned as a leader, that you create something like that, and create a simple process for people to win.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but yeah, like, to contact me, you can use my email, which is matt@theelitetrainingfacility.com.
Yeah.
That's the simple, easy.
That's the way to do it, if they want to do that, man. Well, that's so good, dude. I don't want to take your whole time, but I wanted to get you on here just so you could have a platform, man, so that you can tell us what you love, dude. So if you could leave us with anything, like your one thing that you're just so passionate about, dude, what is it?
That's a good question. So what I would say to anyone is that your ultimate goal in life is to live a life that is filled with the fullest amount of happiness and joy, but also one that has purpose and fulfillment of the purpose.
Oh, good.
And that can look different for you, and however you want, that you get to choose it.
Dude, that's great, man. That's amazing, man. Well, hey, that's it, guys. Matt Johnson, coach, fitness, nutrition, extraordinary actor, the whole package, man. That's amazing, dude. Well, hey, thank you so much for spending your time with me, for getting this ready, and And for you guys out there, look Matt up if you ever need anything. It's been great. Follow his Facebook page is amazing. And dude, we'll do this again. And thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.